This is the first, the first Journeys podcast for Towards Recovery, and you're our first guest. So I'm going to try not to be like a host or a presenter, because that can get a bit, weird, can't it? We're basically just friends from the field of addiction, separated by many years and many miles. Why don't you introduce yourself, David, and tell us a bit about, how you are, where you are, and who you are now, who you were.
Okay. Oh, it's good to see you again, Huseyin. Been a long time, apart from last week, touching base with you for the first time. It must be 2006 or something. So, so my name's David Clark. I'm in Perth, Western Australia at the moment. So we're enjoying an autumn. We've just had a lovely day of 30 degrees, which is good weather. We have a nice Mediterranean climate here. Some of you will know me from the UK. I moved here in 2008. I've had quite a journey in terms of career. I started as a neuroscientist for nigh on 25 years, and then changed and became an addiction recovery advocate. Some of you will know that I set up and ran the Wired In initiative and the Wired Into Recovery online community. I then moved to Perth. As I say, I arrived here on Christmas Day 2008 to be with my new partner. And after a few years started working in the field of Aboriginal trauma. And then just recently I've come back into the addiction recovery field. And for my sins, I'm actually an emeritus professor of psychology. So I used to teach students years ago.
I was going to ask you what you did. What did you do before you went to Australia? Tell us a little bit about your background in addiction and neuroscience.
Okay, so my neuroscience career started straight in my PhD, which was in Reading. And then I was very lucky to go and work in Sweden for 3 years with a man called Arvid Carlsson in the medical school in Gothenburg, Göteborg. And Arvid went on to win the Nobel Prize in the year 2000. He's the father of dopamine research. And neuroscientists will tell you that drugs hijack brain dopamine systems, if you believe that. But what we do know is they're implicated in movement, and Parkinson's disease is where you lose dopamine neurons. So I worked 3 years in Sweden, a couple of years in the States. I won an award to come back to the UK and set up a lab, first in Reading and then in Swansea. And my research laboratory focused mainly on brain dopamine systems, and in the latter years on addiction. Now, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, which is the big funder in the States, will tell you that people take drugs because of their dopamine system. And these drugs hijack these dopamine systems, and people keep looking for pleasure. And to be quite honest with you, I just got more and more disillusioned with this idea. I could tell a very good story about brain dopamine and addiction, but I couldn't tell you anything about recovery. And nor could any other neuroscientist. Some of them would say that we would have a drug which would cure addiction, which to me was total rubbish. And the National Institute of Drug Abuse also promoted the idea that addiction would be solved by scientists and treatment practitioners. And given that we didn't know anything about recovery, I found that rather difficult. So I had started working, or I met some treatment practitioners in Swansea, where I lived, and became good friends with them. And I decided it was time I learned what addiction was really about and what recovery was really about. A number of them were in recovery.